Jesus more.
My dear friends, as often as I've said, Jesus came into this world to die for us. Jesus came, and the only reason why he came was to teach us how to be truly human. And many people always ask, did Jesus have to die to save us? Did Jesus have to go through what he went through because in order to grant us salvation? And the truth is that he had to go through that so that he might teach us what it means to love, because this is what his message was. He did not just come to teach us and to speak words to us and tell us what love is all about, but he taught us by living it out, by dying, to show us what it means to love. And his word tells us right from the Old Testament, I've loved you with an everlasting love, like the prophet Jeremiah says, Jeremiah chapter 31 verse 3, I have loved you with an old age love. In Lamentations chapter 3 verse 23, we hear him say that my love for you is everlasting, my mercy for you would never end. Jesus himself, when he came, he showed his apostles what love means when he washed the feet of his apostles in John chapter 13. And he said to them that you must do the same as I've done. But later on in verse 35, he says that they would know that you are my disciples if you love one another. If you love one another, they would know that you are my disciples, that you are my followers, if you love one another. So it's really have been about love, love, love. And John has shown this in a very great way. In the end, he sacrificed his life. He died even for his enemies. He forgave the sins of those who were persecuting him. He forgave the sins of those who crucified him on the cross. And he said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And he showed us what love means. St. Paul expresses this very well in his letter to the Romans chapter 5 from verse 7. He says that God showed us the fullness of love when he loved us while we were still his enemies. Okay? That it's easy for us to love people who love us. It's easy for you to love your father, to love your mother, to love your sister, to love your spouse. But to show the greatness of God's love is that he loved us while we were still his enemies. And therefore, he's showing us something greater than what we know as love. We've distorted that. Love really means willing the good of the other. In the first reading, in the gospel that we heard today, we hear Jesus saying, no one has greater love than to lay down his life for his friends. Laying your life, willing the good of the other person. But this is not what we find today in the world in which we live. Love actually means trying to get as much as possible for myself. This is really the opposite of what love is. And the first reading says what we should talk about love. Love should not only be in words, but in deeds and actions. So it's not enough for somebody to tell you, I love you. No, it's not enough. And at times we find, especially young people, once they hear those words, they get so moved by it that they are willing to sacrifice and hate their parents and disrespect their parents because another boy came and told them he loves them, and turning them against their own family. And then they feel they are really in love because they are willing to sacrifice even their families for the sake of that. That is terrible, because that is not love. Love is willing the good of the other. If a boy really loves you, he's not going to try to make you to stop education for him. That is not love. If somebody loves you, he's not going to try to impregnate you or try to sleep with you or have sex with you, because that can easily destroy that girl. And then the girl will feel, I'm really in love with this boy and I'm willing to do anything for that boy. That is not love. Think about the love of the parents. They sacrificed everything that we might go to school. They sacrificed everything to make us who we are today. And yet somebody would come from somewhere you do not know and try to take that in a second. It's important that we must rethink about this word love, because love is not just what the world makes it to be. It's not about giving flowers on Valentine's Day. There is something more than that. And that is shown and demonstrated through the love of the parents for us. Maximilian Kolbe was an example of such love, that when he became a Franciscan priest, he opened up a community that would cater for those who were suffering, especially for the poor. And during the time that the Germans were persecuting the Jews, he decided to open up his congregation to be able to cater for the refugees, the Jewish people. And when the Germans found out, we were all arrested, including Maximilian Kolbe. And he was a Polish, he was not even a Jew, he was a Polish man. And when he was arrested, and then there was one of the prisoners who escaped, and because of that, families were supposed to be persecuted. They would just pick up 10 people at random and kill them by starvation. And there's one of these men who was picked up, and he had a family. And Maximilian Kolbe sacrificed his life for this person, and he died for the sake of this family, for the sake of saving the life of this person. He said, "My life is nothing, it's an expression of love." And this is what we are called to do, to express that love to the fullness. I came across a story just recently, not long time ago, of a lady who fell in love with a man in a village somewhere. And they were really in love with each other. And after some time, this lady came across somebody who was more handsome, stronger, and richer, had all the cars and all the things, and came from a decent family as well. And out of sudden, her love for this first person disappeared. And he was going after this man, and of course this man was really, really in love with this girl. And this poor man in the village was a bit angry, was really annoyed and disappointed with himself, disappointed with the girl. And they would often fight when they met with each other. It became like hatred because of what this girl had done to him. And everything continued as usual, but then after some time, this lady collapsed at home and was rushed to the hospital, and then the doctors diagnosed that there was a problem with her kidneys, and she needed kidney transplant. And they needed a donor. And the parents of this girl could donate, but they were old already, so it was risky for them to donate their kidney. And the only person who had a matching kidney was the husband. This new man who was married to this, who was about to get married to this girl. And the parents refused. "No, you cannot donate your kidney to this girl." And of course the man said, "No, I'm not going to do that." Even though he loved her, but he was not willing to give his life for this girl. And the girl was so devastated in the hospital when this man came and gave her that news that he's not going to do that. And then when this other poor man in the village, when he heard that this girl was sick, he went to the hospital to visit. And then it was about donating the kidney. And he said, "I'm willing to do that because I love you so much." The parents refused at home, but he said, "No, I'm going to do that." Anyway, in the end, he donated his kidney to this girl. This girl was very happy, disappointed, and asked for forgiveness and everything, and was well. And this man, after donating the kidney, unfortunately, he also died. This girl lived, but he died. And I think this is what really love is all about, that we are ready to lay down our lives for our friends. It might not be that we have to die, but that I have to die to something. It might be your bank accounts might go down because of the good of another person. You might have to sacrifice your food, the food that you're supposed to have today, maybe lunch or supper, for the sake of somebody who needs more. And this is what Jesus says: if you have to be my disciples, it has to be shown true love. And love is not just by speaking. It's not just enough to say, "I love you." It is shown in deeds. Our parents do not tell us every day that they love us, but we know it because of their actions. And as Christians, Jesus has given us this example through his own life, giving up his life that we might live. We might also be able and consider that whenever we talk about our relatives, when we talk about our friends, when we talk about our neighbors, are we willing to sacrifice something for the good of those people? Are we ready to sacrifice our food, our clothing, even our lives for the sake of others? We pray through the intercession of Saint Maximilian Kolbe that we may truly be people who would love one another, that we may be able to obey the command of Christ in John's Gospel chapter 13, as I've washed your feet, you also must wash the feet of your neighbors.
Kiss us, mother, kiss your children. Bring God's blessings from above. With your mantle blue enfold us in your gentle holy love. See the darkness disappear.